Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are joined once again by Dr. Feeby Wood, and excited to have her here and going to have a great conversation, obviously, as always. As a
Thank
licensed
you,
clinical
Jill.
psychologist and life coach and owner of her own company called True North Psychological Services, and of course, Redeeming Valor, go to the website, True North Psychological Services, inc.com, and let's welcome Dr. Feeby back. Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing very well, Jill. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. For those that
Good.
may not know of you
Thank
yet, of
you.
course, we always got to establish a little bit about you, your company, before we get to today's awesome topics.
Thank you very much. My name is Phoebe Wooden, and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist out in the San Diego area. I actually have two different companies. One is the True North Psychological Services, Inc., and the off branch is Redeeming Valor. We do a lot of in-person psychotherapy, but also because of COVID, we've adapted to working uh, virtually and utilizing all of the different capabilities we have. Also, just recently, I've added coaching as a part of what I do, and been just had a really great outcomes with those. The Redeeming Valor is the company that came because of the limitations that came up during COVID with spaces and office spaces. So we kind of became inventive, and we went and got certified to do equine assisted psychotherapy. And we have two beautiful horses that help us
I was
with
going to
that.
say,
One
how
of them is
are
a
they? And what about the
baby. Oh
baby? Was
gosh,
there a baby
so
too?
dang cute. Yes, so dang cute. Just really adorable. And just keep, giving us a run for our money right now. And so we have about four horses altogether that are a part of the program, and just this new baby Valor that just joined us has really been a thrill. He is so cute.
Amazing, amazing. Well, congratulations. And
Thank you so much.
I know today we want to talk about how to hold someone accountable but with compassion and respect. So, how do we define accountability? Let's start, there as one of the first topics, if that works for you.
Mm-hmm. I think over the time that we've been working with a lot of like couples, there's always a very general cycle of, hey, I want to let my husband know how he can
Hmm.
support me or he can help me, but I also don't want to be the nagging wife, and I don't want to have to repeat myself over and over again. You hear, couples say, oh, I don't want to
Yeah.
be his mom, or I don't want to be, her dad. And so there has been a general use of the word accountability, and in some ways it has been weaponized in a way that means, hey, how can I trust you
Yeah.
to do what you said you were going to do if you're not
Hmm.
showing up? And so it kind of, I've been thinking about the like word trust, because traditionally we think, well, it's around like infidelity or, someone lying to you about something, but really also it's about whether or not they're going to show up for what they promised or they committed to do.
True.
So that's kind of how, I've been redefining it in a lot of like my work with clients right now. It's like, all right, what do you mean when you're talking about like not trusting? Is it about accountability, responsibility,
Hmm.
or reliability? And so I've been able to break it down
Perfect.
to clients for our work together.
Well, do you want to address the other factors first, or do you want to just talk more about accountability before we go to the next? I'm sorry. I just
Yeah,
want to make sure we're
yeah.
doing everything that's right.
No, absolutely. So when we
Res-
talk about accountability, the core from the word accountability, it comes from calculated ability. It comes from the word, a computare, which is a calculation. So in order to hold someone accountable, there is a calculation that happens about whether or not that person has the resources to
Mhm.
meet the task that they said that they were going to do. So that means time, energy, and money. And we're hoping that they do it in a way that meets successful outcomes. The other part about that is figuring out, well, if we didn't get successful outcomes, did the data change? And when the data changed, is it about time, energy, and money? And are they taking responsibility? Are they saying, you know what, like the data changed and I didn't create a successful outcome and I'm taking accountability for that? That I said yes to something that the calculations changed over time. And then the second part is the responsibility part. And the responsibility part is whether it's a skill set. It's whether the person has the ability to respond in the manner that they said that they were going to do. So do they have the skill set to respond that way, and in a accurate, effective manner to what they said they were going to do? And that the third part is reliability, and that's a measure of trust. It's a measure of, over time, has that person shown up to what they have said they committed to do? And it's really an evaluation of, like, can my heart trust what you're saying? Can my heart trust that when you signed up for this job, you were really capable of doing it? And so when you break it that way, people can understand that where they're having the hardest time trusting their partner.
Do they follow through with those specific tasks? Do they tell, I'm that person, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and I will. May I be late? Maybe a little, but I'm true to word. But I know so many people that make promises they don't keep, and it's just a sad, sad thing. And I just needed to digress that. It's not good to be that way. I love accountability, and that means so much. I mean, I just expect it because that's what I give, right? But not everybody knows
because that's
how
the
to
expectation you put out of yourself. Right. Like when I say to someone I commit to that, it is not actually just a word. It's I'm taking, it's an action, and I'm taking that you can rely on me to be a part of your tribe. You can rely on me for you to create that outcome that you have a vision for. And this sounds like, on a bigger perspective, it sounds like, like a corporate thing, but like, think about this on a daily basis. So, wife husband says, hey, honey, I told you I was going to get to clearing this part of the garage. And, 2 days go by, a week goes by, and wife is like, hello, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so then she's like, hey, hon, are you going to take care of the stuff that you said you were going to take care of in the garage? And that doesn't happen. And so then it becomes very personal. It becomes like, all right, I feel like I have to nag you in order for you to deliver your part of the equation. I do not want to nag you, because then it doesn't feel right.
No.
So then we start personalizing it. So we're like, oh, I'm not your mother, or what, do you think your time is more valuable than my time? Why are you like that about promises you don't keep? And so people start taking it very personally. And I think really importantly is just being able to sit down and go, okay, I let these obstacles get in the way, and being honest that I said I was going to do this. And when I stood there, I started having, memories about, like, oh, when I was doing this, or I got distracted. Just being very honest and communicated what happened, versus just walking away from it and just thinking, oh, the other person is not going to notice it. And if they notice it, then you have those negative emotions about it.
Wow. This sounds like me with my son's father. The whole, like, doctor example, you promise to call the doctor, I can't make the appointment. Then it gets into personally, like you're so lazy, and then the person feels shamed, and it's like, and I'm like, but how many times do I have to tell you? And hear my voice, and I'm getting worked up now. Just it's not I don't want to be that way, but there's no other how can we resolve this? Because I feel it.
And what usually happens is that the person kind of has their balls against the wall, and then it's kind of, all right, if I don't do that, what really pushes them is fear of a negative outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And when that becomes that, then it becomes like, okay, if I don't do that, then you're a reliably scary person that's going to remind them to get their stuff done, which that's not the place I want to be. Reliable,
Yeah.
that's of being like a scary nagging person. That is not the place that I want them to count on me to be. So how would conversations like that go in general? So, hey, you have a doctor's appointment to make for our son or our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Okay, I'll do it. What does that mean? Okay, I'll do it.
That means you're going to do it, right? I
Right.
would think so.
So from A is I have committed that I'm going to, make the time. I know all the I have the resources. I have the telephone number of the doctor, I know which doctor to call, know what appointment I'm going to make. I know what time my kid's school is, when he's here, when he's not. It's a lot of information. And if that person has said yes to something and they do not have access to all the other information, then it is very likely that they will not have the correct response in order to be responsible for this task. So being able to ask, okay, do you have all this information?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have what is the important part about you showing up and being accountable to this task? What is this? Why does this matter? Who benefits from you showing up and having a positive outcome to this task? Because if you're going to tell me I'm going to do it, but you do not have all of the resources, then I do not want to be able to trust that you're going to respond and be reliable in this outcome.
Yeah.
Like, it would be just foolish for me to trust someone that doesn't have all the resources
Mm-hmm.
to make it happen. So I'm going to have to pivot
Okay.
whether or not you're the right person to be accountable and responsible for this task.
Yeah. Accountability. My goodness. This is just relating so much to home for me. Thank you. Thank you. Well, what happens when you've given them all the tools and information and the same situation keeps occurring? I feel like you lose hope. Like, for example, yeah, you're picking up from school. Okay, you should know the time. You should know that you have to also call the school ahead of time. You have to email the teacher on the Remind app. And then when those things don't get done, you show up at the school and you can't get the kid. And that's
Right.
happened numerous times. It's like I say there's a genetic block. I think he's missing a chromosome. I'm sorry. No, I don't know how to describe it because I've done this and I've given the list
Yes.
and I've given the reminders and I've given
Yes.
everything. And then they just
You've given all the tools.
feel so alone. But okay.
But yeah. So then it goes back to the willingness. So what drives that person to be willing to respond appropriately and to be a reliable person? What creates that willingness? Is it, hey, I would love it for our kid to be able to like say, hey, my dad, when he says that he's going to be doing something or he shows up, like
Mm-hmm.
I know he is willing to do it. I
Yeah.
know that he's done the work for it.
No.
Because what happens when you take willingness out of it is you're capable, but you're not willing.
Yeah.
It doesn't become it doesn't become a it becomes an obligation and not an opportunity.
Sure.
So people respond differently to obligations. People respond differently to, like some drag their feet till the last minute and some are like, I want to get that done so I do not have to think about it anymore. So that whole response of like, what does it look like? How have you handled obligations in the past? I
Yeah.
think it's important for us to be able to say, all right, am I putting in an expectation on someone that is reliable? Does he show up in a way that makes you feel like he's a team member?
Mm-hmm.
If you were to show 100, days of attending, and he's shown up, 5 times, that's not a good, reliable outcome.
No.
That's a
Mm-mm.
5% reliability.
Yeah.
So what could shift? Does that person wish to be more reliable? And so having these conversations of like, all right, what does it mean for him to do a task? Is it just an obligation and needs to be done and it's kind of a
Right.
burden?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this an opportunity for him to spend some time with his kiddo and to show that he can show up and be more reliable?
Yeah.
And if the data shows that this is not someone who's accountable, responsible, and reliable, then you have to pivot your expectations to not create that you and him were going to show up or in the same way,
Capacity.
because
Yeah.
those are important to you. But
Mm-hmm.
if this is not important to him,
Yeah.
there's no amount of shaming that's going to create that shift in
Mm-hmm.
willingness.
Yeah. Interesting.
And
Just
it's a continuation. Yeah.
remind us who we're talking to. I know. And
Uh,
the website and forms of contact, don't mind if you share it again, please.
Yes, hi, this is Phoebe Wooden. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist out in the Oceanside area in the San Diego County. I'm also a life coach, and I'll be getting certified in hypnosis next month. I'm super excited.
Awesome.
We also integrate equine assisted psychotherapy through the Golem method. Best way to reach me is at 760-492-5656. Again, it's Phoebe Wooden at 760-492-5656.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let's continue.
Yep.
Ooh. Oh, and I
Sure.
dropped, I'm sorry, I dropped the camera just fell. I dropped my phone and my mouse. I have a carpal tunnel cast thing on and I'm a
Oh
little,
man.
so I apologize. I'm a little off balance, off centered in a sense. Give me a second. Continue. I'm here.
So we're talking about like accountability and being like looking look at your mouse. You're holding it like a mouse.
I know that's why my arm hurts so bad, but I had the armrest and the arm pad thing
Oh
here,
my
which fell.
goodness.
But thank you. So sorry.
No, did you have to do surgery on that?
No, I haven't even gone to the doctor yet. I'm going
Okay.
Tuesday morning. Yeah,
Okay.
because I've had it in the past. It's been a while, but it's brewing. So I have the doctor and the MRI and the X-ray just to make sure it's Tuesday, and then I'm sure it's physical therapy. My mom though had 3 surgeries, so I know it runs in the family. So
Yes.
I'm scared, but we'll see.
Yeah. You hardworking, huh?
Yeah, of course, aren't we all, right?
Yes. So part of being in community is, and we talked about this, like I think in the past, Jill, is recognizing what are different strengths and what are different challenges in the people that are in your tribe. Because when we have that heart of like a chief and we want to be able to just delegate and have like that peace, we want to be able to delegate it to the right people. And not everybody has the same capabilities, and in
Hmm.
no shaming space. When we were tribes, each person had a very unique job, but they'd spend their whole life mastering that job and then they would pass it on to the next generation. So the best version of myself would go off to my offspring and they would spend their whole life perfecting it and then, serving people with that skill set. And so, here in our modern times, we've kind of created expectations that are unrealistic because we told everybody you're going to have to be, great hunters, great time managers, great healers, great communicators. Think about the jobs that men used to have. I mean,
Yeah.
blacksmith, hunters.
Uh-huh.
It didn't really have that aspect of, this whole communication and being in unity and being transparent is something that's a lot newer for a lot of men because again, traditionally it was more about like very, very, focal, I'm just doing one little weapon at a time, blacksmithing or hunting or, whatever. The watchmen, my insomniacs are my watchmen. They're
Mm-hmm.
watching you at night and with the what if strategies. And, here we are, we've kind of recreated a what do we expect out of ourselves? And for some, unfortunately, we've risen up to those challenges, some out of anxiety and some out of opportunity. Because there's
Yeah.
times when I'm just sitting here and I'm like going, I really don't need to be doing this, but I'm doing it because I want to test myself or I want to challenge myself.
Yeah.
And that is a personal thing that I do. That's a personal thing that I choose to do. However, that's not everybody looks at it as that way. Not everybody is open to being challenged and growing. And so one of the things is being able to see that person of like, all right, are they showing up to the best version of themselves, to a higher version of themselves? Are they taking opportunities to explore different parts of their brains? Are they willing to go and watch a YouTube on how to, fix a faucet? Or is this something that they're just going to get stuck in the problem and not in the solution? So being able to see people where they're at is really important in order for us to adjust like our understanding of their accountability, responsibility, and reliability. The other part of it is that people think that in order for you to be happy with them, they
Mm-hmm.
have to have 100% accountability,
Yeah.
or do it with like such flawlessness and grace. That
Mm-hmm.
is rarely happens. Like, I just show up to my kids, show yesterday,
Oh,
my
yeah.
phone is going
Yeah, of
off, my
course.
hair is stuck, it's raining. Like, I still showed up, but
Yeah.
it wasn't pretty. I didn't show up as like the mommy that looked all, like had all her shit together. It was like, this is the most I can do with what I have today.
Oh
And
my
so,
goodness.
yeah, being able to like like see them that they're doing the attempts, that they're taking accountability for their mistakes, and they're showing some growth towards wanting to have a positive outcome.
Hmm. Oh, we all want positive outcomes, right?
Yes, yes.
We all want to live our
I'm
best life. I do. Yes, why not? But there's so
too.
many things that we struggle with. I mean, it's part of life and ah, but you could help us.
Yeah. I can help me, and in learning to help me, I've apparently helped other people. So I'm glad that I was very selfish in my choice to help me first, and that it kind of fruited out to helping other people.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's great though. It is. Mm,
And I think
perfect.
also the other part, and I think that a lot of people don't talk about, is we are scared human beings. It's part of our biology to be scared, and to have some healthy anxiety is important. It is important. It tells us where we have a natural response to things that are scary, that are overwhelming, or that we haven't
Mm-hmm.
felt strong to address. So the fear response is something to really pay attention to: the amount, the statement, the intensity.
Yep.
Because, hey, I'm afraid of snakes. Sure, a lot of people are afraid of snakes. Now, I'm afraid of snakes, so I never go outside in the
Oh
summer because
gosh.
I might get bit by a rattlesnake. It's a
Wow.
very different level of intensity. It has
Mm-hmm.
really huge ramifications. So, figuring out like if I'm holding someone accountable, if part of their fears is, oh, they want to do it and they want to just do it in a way that doesn't piss me off or doesn't piss their boss
Yeah,
off,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
the fears overwhelm the trial or the chances to try at it, because they're just like, Like the expectation is it has to be perfect, and I can't deliver perfect, therefore I'm not going to show up.
Mm.
And so a lot of times we'll see people get stuck in not doing something because they're so scared of failing
Yeah.
or disappointing the other person in an
Of course.
imperfect outcome.
So true.
Being able to just say, like, all right, what is that person hearing me say is the meaning of this task? Is that I'm a good father, I'm not a lazy person, or is it, hey, like this is a list of 100 things and I'm a good team member? Like what happens if I do that task? What are positives that come to me? Am I all of a sudden like, yay?
Mm-hmm. Or
And when you're a highly accountable person, it's really hard because you're just like, all right, I got shit done. Like, I don't need a medal for that. But
yeah.
there are other people that have love languages that are about affirmation. So, you know, if it's easier for them to like fail,
Well,
and they get more attention that way, and
yeah.
then they're going to want to. They tend to do things that are going to fail more, so they get more attention.
Oh,
Um, so, kind of like creating that space of like, all right, what are they scared of? What outcome are they thinking I expect out of them, or, the organization expects out of them?
got it.
So we kind of talk about that too.
I apologize. We're out of time. Would you mind
Oh, no,
sharing one more
no
time your contact
apologies.
information? Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Again, this is Phoebe Witten, and best way to reach me is at 760-492-5656.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us, and looking forward to
Thank
the next time we connect. Thank you again.
you. All right, Jill. Have a
Bye-bye.
great one.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.